What's up, y'all? Alright, so we've already started the game, and we are playing pretty interesting deck. We're going to start here. We could play Iono since our opponent has 9 cards in hand, but we do want to wait. They have a Genesect, so they're probably playing a bunch of Goldengo stuff, but we don't have to worry about being attacked. And we have the rare candy Pidgeot for next turn, so we're just going to end it there. We are playing a Hydreigon build with Pidgeot, with Blaziken. I forget what else. We might even be playing a Monkey Dory. I kind of just picked one of the random Hydreigon builds that I have. I have like 3 or 4 different ones, with different things, but nothing new. None of the like seriously new cards. But here, so we got Torchic. Now we're going to Rare Candy Pidgeot. And essentially, what we want to do now is we're gonna probably Iono here, right? Let's. Yeah, I think we want Iono here. So we're gonna attach the energy here. Iono first. Fresh our hand and disrupt the opponent a little bit. And okay, Buddy Poppet's good. That's what I think we were looking for in the first place. We do definitely need another Dino down. And then we can also item lock here, which is really, really good for us right now. So we're going to just go ahead and retreat into Badoo. And then we're going to quick search for our stage 1 to get closer to our Hydreigon. But let's just look through real quick. So we have Shock is actually pretty good next turn to be able to get a couple of things. We have Artisan, we have our Neo Upper in there. It's good stuff. Everything's good. And so, yeah. Oh, ideally, we want to just get closer. So we're going to grab our Zoelu. And we're evolve that real quick. Now this does do 150 damage. So if he has a boss and an energy, we're in a bad spot. But this item lock will hopefully help us prevent them from doing too much, using items, things like that. We'll see. We'll see if it ends up biting us in the butt that we didn't actually rare candy Hydreigon that turn. I don't think we could have, but now we actually have the chance to potentially get, depending what we draw into, right? So he's actually Arvin, so we don't have to worry about boss, and he can't play items. So he's probably just going to get this stuff in his hand in the hopes that he can get an energy and probably one-shot our Badoo here, which will stop the item lock. But we may have only needed the item lock for the one turn, just to get us where we need. So then next turn, I mean, if we can somehow pull off a Obsidian with our Neo Upper, I mean, we do need a lot of pieces, but we have Crispin as well. So Crispin will get us there, and then we literally have to quick search. So we'll take out the Soul Rock and their only Gimme Ghoul. So let's put our Pidgeot. We have free retreat with that. So let's see what the top deck. Counter gain. Okay. That's actually good because that does come in play here, actually. And we have counter catcher, so we can ultimately guarantee knocking these things out here. He's doing 150, and what does it do? This Pokemon takes less damage. Okay, we're not worried about that. So we're actually going to quick search here. And the point of quick search is to make sure we get Hydreigon, right? We need it. We got to make sure we get that. And then we have a way to Obsidian, which means we're taking out the only Gimme Ghoul that is there. Now we don't need, if you look at it, we need a Psychic Energy and then a Colorless to pull this off. But we have Counter Gain, which means we technically don't. So because of that, we've already quick searched, right? So the idea, man, I wish we had the energy already because Iono would be so good right here. Ultimately, we can counter gain and then crushing headbutt, counter catcher, the Gimme Ghoul, and just go from there. And then wait to Obsidian. But you know what? We're just gonna Crispin. Iono would have been really good here, but there's that. I think we're fine with this. Put the metal into our hand. Attach that. And now we do need one energy, but we can actually save that energy here because we have the counter gain. So now we'll retreat into our Hydreigon, and we're doing 100 damage, but we also do 130 to both of the bench Pokemon. So we will put our energy here. Now, ultimately, he's just going to put this back in the active. But I think if we push this to the bench and use the counter catcher, we might be able to do 130. So we're going to use the counter catcher here just to ensure that we potentially should be able to do the full amount of damage now. Yep. Should do 130 to the bench. Yep. So we just got around that little effect of that attack where it takes less damage. So now we were able to do the full 130. We get a boss off prizes, which is really good. And next turn, we're guaranteeing that we're going to knock this out. We have an Iono. We see the trolley, but we do have boss. So we can just basically, continue to hunt down these gimme ghouls. We Obsidian again. We do need to quick search for an energy because counter gain will no longer be active. So that's the only negative thing there. But basically, we can push up this gimme ghoul here and then do 130, 130, 130. And we can just wipe out all these gimme ghouls next turn. Hopefully we don't get Iono'd, because that would kind of make this a little bit harder because we do have to quick search for an energy first and then play the boss that's in our hand. So we need our hand to stay the way it is in order for this play to work. Now we could, honestly, we need four prize cards. We could just knock this out, actually, with Obsidian here. I think we have to give him Pidgeot, right? Yeah, we have to give him Pidgeot so that we have the free retreat. I don't think he can knock it out with one shot with 150, but okay, he's just going to take out our Dino, which is, you know what? We win the game next turn. So basically, with Obsidian this next turn, we could take out 2 bench Pokemon, which is 2 more prize cards, and then knock out this active Genesect, which will be 4 prize cards. So we should be able to win the game this next turn. We didn't get disrupted, right? Did we? We didn't. I'm like anticipating that he's going to play an Iono, and we really don't want that. So if he does have Iono, that hurts a lot. But it's Goldango, so the odds that they have it. Okay, good. So he just takes out the Dino, which is fine. We now are capable of bossing, plus utilizing our quick search for an energy. Now, ultimately, I don't think. Yeah, he conceded. Yeah, basically, the next he knew that we didn't even need boss. Yeah, we just basically play. I mean, he should have let us do it, right? It's a 4 prize turn with Hydreigon. Why couldn't you just let us do it? You know, make sure you get your knockout and played all that. We have 13 card hand, and we literally just we could have been petty and just took out every single one, but because we didn't really at that point have a backup Hydreigon, we want to end the game in that turn, which would have easily happened with one more Obsidian. But yeah, that's Hydreigon with Pidgeot. You can see how it's not the hardest to set up when you have this kind of this type of variation of it. because you play the Blaziken as well, which gives you the opportunity to pull cards out of your discard and attach them to your Pokemon. So basically, it just helps with that extra energy requirement. You also play the counter gain because if you go down in prizes, which you usually do, um, it gives you the ability to do either of those attacks for one less energy. And then on top of that, you just have quick search every turn to continuously search out whatever it is you need. Um, so yeah, it's a fun deck. I enjoy it, but it doesn't always operate that cleanly. So I think in that matchup, obviously being able to hit three Pokemon for 130 is a pretty nutty attack. It just takes a lot, right? But that's why we play the Crispin. That's why we have Neo Upper as our ace spec. That's why we play things like Counter Gain because we want to be able to Obsidian as often as possible, especially early on against decks like that, or even things like Dragapult, where they have a bunch of their cloaks or Dreepies, and they all get wiped out by an Obsidian attack. As long as we can get to the attack, then we're set. So now that we played the game and we got a win, we're going to just run through the list real quick in case anyone watching decides they want to try it out for themselves. I mean, this isn't a really new archetype or build whatsoever, and it's not even relevant in the meta at all, which is why it's surprising. And I think playing it is fun because people don't expect it, but it is very strong. Like don't get it twisted, especially with a lot of these Gardevoirs popping around. You can you can crashing headbutt for 200. You hit for weakness on psychic Pokemon. So you're doing 400 damage plus discarding three cards from their deck. That's a pretty devastating attack for two energy. Um, so yeah, I mean it has a little bit of a retreat cost, but we don't really mind because it's hitting so hard. And there's other things you can play Briar in this list. You can play things like a Jet Energy. You can add some Jet Energy, for being able to switch things around. You can play however you want. This is just the build that I had chosen. But so going through our Pokemon real quick, we play one Bidoof for obviously as you've seen in that game. The item lock is super crucial in a deck like this. That's a stage two base deck. Playing heavy evolutions, you want to give yourself an extra turn or two to be able to set up without your opponent just playing the nuts. So Badoo is crucial in this list for those reasons. We play a 2-1-2 line of Pidgeot. So Pidgeotto, Pidgeot is 2-1-2. We play one Blood Moon Ursaluna for late game. So if your energy's gone, if you don't have any attackers, Blood Moon is always a great late game attacker because you can sometimes attack for free or for one energy. And that's really good. 240 damage is pretty good for that. And then obviously our Hydreigon list is going to be 3-2-3. So we do play two of the stage one Pokemon. It has a really cool attack to find Pokemon. So find a friend, search your deck up for up to two Pokemon. That's basics, stage one, stage twos. So that's really good if you have this in the active and you need to build up and you need to find, let's say, maybe a Fez for the next turn plus a Pidgeot, or you need to find your Pecharunt. Because, like I said, Hydreigon has a 3 retreat cost. Instead of playing Jet Energies and all this other stuff, we just play a Pecharunt, and then we can cycle our dark Pokemon in that way. But anyway, yeah, so we play one Fez, obviously, for draw power. The 3-2-3 line of Danos, Hydreigons, Wayless. We play one Pecharunt EX. We play a 1-1 line of Blaziken Torchic. We do have to rare candy to get this active. And we could play a higher count, but we already played 19 Pokemon and we have so much going on in this list. Like you want to have your Pidgeys down. You want to have at least 2 Dinos down. You want to at least have 1 Torchic down. Then if you need to bench things like Badoo or you need to bench things like Pecharunt, all of a sudden that's all of your bench space. And we don't play Area Zero to widen our bench. There's no real need. So you have to be really cautious with how you use your bench space. And so playing a 1-1 line is fine. If it gets taken out, we do play Super Rod and stuff like that to bring it back in. But once you lose your Blaziken, you kind of just lose it. You don't really want to prioritize bringing it back. it is literally just to make sure we can Obsidian and continue to attach uh, energy from our discard if need be. So that's the whole point of that. And you can go without it. Honestly, it's not even something you really, really need. It's just something I wanted to try out. I think Blaziken is a slept-on Pokemon. It does have good HP. Um, it is a 2 retreat cost, but with things like the balloon, um, and even things like Petulant, being able to switch it from the active if it gets stuck, and be able to put something else up like your Fez or your Hydreigon, it's really good. For 2 energy, it does 200 damage. Now it can't attack the next turn unless you cycle it out, um, and move it to the bench and then back if need be. But really, you're not worried about attacking too much with this. Um, you would have to attach like Neo Upper or something to it because you don't play fire energy. So you're not looking for an attack with Blaziken, but if you really need to, you can with that. But if you're attaching Neo Upper to your Blaziken, you're probably going to lose the game. So um, whatever. But its ability is really what we want. And it's the Seething Spirit ability. So once during your turn, you may attach a basic energy card from your discard to one of your Pokemon. That's your active or your bench. So really, the ability is what we need it for. If we discarded energy, or if for whatever reason something got knocked out, like one of our previous Hydreigons were knocked out, we can utilize this. And this is also a good way. A lot of people sleep on how good this ability is. I mean, if we're at the end of the game and we have no energy in our deck or no energy in our hand, and we need to attack with our Blood Moon Ursaluna, Blaziken ability, attach the energy from your discard. If you're playing Petulant, and this actually at the end of the game, if you say you don't have your Blood Moon, or it's prized, or it got knocked out, or whatever, or you don't have a way to get to it, but you do have Petulant, this is a really strong attack. It does 60 damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. So later in the game, you can hit upwards of 240 damage, sometimes 300 damage for 2 dark energy. And we play the dark energy anyway. So if you say use something like Seething Spirit to attach 1 dark energy from your discard, and then another dark energy from hand or something like that, you can utilize this ability to get that one final knockout you may need. So it has a purpose. I do have another build where I do play Monkey Dory in this list, and I think that is really good as well. We already play the Dark Energy for it. You can use your Blaziken to actually power up your Monkey Dory, and it just helps with, your Hydreigon potentially surviving more than one attack. It also helps just move energy, and let's say you have damage on your Hydreigon and you move 30 damage. Now all of a sudden Crashing Headbutt's hitting for 230, right? Which maybe isn't the greatest number, but it's just that little bit you might need. Also, with Obsidian, if you move that 30 damage, now you could potentially do 160 in a turn to one of those Pokemon, which could knock certain things out, right? Like, what I'm trying to think, what has 160? Doesn't Squawkabilly have 160, right? You can potentially get that. Get a one-hit knockout with that, with your Monkey Dory ability as well. It just, there's cool little things you can do with this list. But anyway, on to the trainers, since I talk so much about the Pokemon, because they are really fun and interesting, and I enjoy them. But that's what they do. So now on to the trainers. We play 3 Buddy Poffin. Obviously, we play 70 HP basics, a good number of them. So Buddy Poffins, you can even argue to play a 4th one, but we had to make some cuts for things like a 4th rare candy or things like the counter gain. So we do play a counter gain. Obviously, like I said, if you're behind in prize cards, this this makes the attack the attack of the Pokemon it's attached to 1 colorless less. So obviously Obsidian has that 1 colorless cost that makes it a pretty high energy requirement. But with this attached, as you've seen in that game, it makes it 1 less, which means you can spare that energy attachment somewhere else for the turn. But you have to be behind in prizes. So if you then go up in prizes, like you've seen in that game, it no longer is going to work. So you have to remember that if you're in that situation, you have to then attach another energy to meet the requirement, or you won't be able to attack. And trust me, I've seen things like that happen before. Then we play one rescue board, one super rod. Two Artisan is the stadium of choice. Just another way to get our basic um, non-rule box Pokemon in play. Obviously, like I said, we play a bunch, and you definitely want to be able to have those when you need it. Um, we play one vessel to help us find our energy. For rare candy, I would not cut any. I wouldn't go any less. I've tried three in a list like this, but because if you go back to the Pokemon, we do play two stage ones, but there's not always a chance. What if you prize both or prize one? You also play the stage one Pidgeotto, but you want to get these things out as fast as possible, which means you want to find rare candy. You want to streamline these evolutions. But Blaziken is the one thing that we don't play the Combuskin. We don't play the middle evolution here. So we have to rare candy for this. So that's one rare candy gone. Maybe two at least for Hydreigon expectation. And then one more for Pidgeot, and that's all four rare candies. And if someone plays a Devo, I mean, you're in bad shape, right? So play four. It's the best way to play this type of list. And three Arvins, you could probably argue for four and cut something like one Crispin, or you can cut the Jacques or something like that. But I kind of like the way this build is. Three is enough to get what you need. We play three Ultra Ball to help find those evolutions, especially, or anything that we need. Play three Boss, one Night Stretcher, two Crispin. I wouldn't cut Crispin either. You can maybe play around with the Bosses or the Ionos. You can even cut like a Jacques or the Brock Scouting. But I wouldn't touch the Crispins, like I said, with a 4 energy cost attack on Hydreigon. You need that Crispin. You see how crucial it was. We were able to Obsidian turn 2 in that game. Had we not had Crispin, it would have been a little harder. Even though we did start really good with our rare candy Pidgeot, and being able to quick search things like your Neo Upper Energy and stuff like that is great. I think having 2 Crispin is just ideal. And then 3 Iono for Hand Disruption. Always a good card. We play 1 Evolution in case we're item locked and we can't rare candy or things like that. This is just a way to help us get those evolutions going. We play a Jacques, another crucial card in a deck with a bunch of evolutions. Just another way to help find our evolution Pokemon. And then 2 Counter Catcher as some extra gust. So that gives us our 5 gusting options for the game. Sometimes it's just super crucial to have the ability to gust as often as you need. And then a Brock Scouting, which is another way of getting basics out. Just more consistency, finding an evolution if we need it. And that is our trainers. And then energy-wise, I think this is kind of standard, and I wouldn't play anything more or less than this. This seems to be fine, unless you change the variation or the variant of the list. But 3 Dark, 2 Psychic, 2 Metal, and 1 Neo Upper. You can potentially go with like if you're playing the Crispins and you don't see an issue with it, you can maybe change this Neo Upper to something like Legacy Energy maybe, or I don't know. Like I said, you can add a Jet Energy if you like that option instead of Petulant or whatever. But I think this is pretty solid. It's at least guarantees you 2 powered up Hydreigons at least, and there's ways of getting a third if you need it. But if you get 2 Hydreigons powered up and you get to attack with Obsidian with either of those more than once, I mean the game's probably just over, right? So anyway, that's the list. Try it out if you like. Let me know what you think. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the little gameplay. It kind of was uneventful because we kind of just dominated our opponent and then they conceded. But maybe we'll continue with this list in the future. But for now, that's Hydreigon and Pidgeot, the variation we have. Try it out, like I said. Hope you enjoyed the video and it was a little informative. Till next time, take care. Later.